Welcome to Digital Shift, also known as Corporate Evolution Tales. Join us as we dive into the dynamic world of digital transformation. From illuminating case studies to captivating narratives, we uncover the stories behind companies' journeys toward digital excellence. Whether you are a seasoned corporate leader or an aspiring innovator, our podcast explores the shifts, challenges of modern business evolution. Hello everyone and welcome to the first session of Digital Shift, aka Corporate Evolution Tales. With us today is my friend Chris Justice, who kindly agreed to be my first guest. Hello, Chris.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Doing great.
Awesome. So what we are going to do is Chris will answer to our questions, which are related to digital transformation, and he will share his experience, how he went through all that stuff. And yeah. Okay, let's go with the first question, which is if you can give a brief overview of who Chris Justice is and in which industry you are now working.
My name is Christopher Justice. I'm Chief Operations Officer of Blink and based in Tampa, Florida. And my role is a bit of product strategy, operations, digital transformation, and application modernization. So I've been in the industry for about 30 plus years. I started my career with the Securities and Exchange Commission as well as the FBI before going into commercial software development.
Awesome. That sounds really exciting. So what are your thoughts on digital transformation?
Well, I have been doing this a long time. My first role was involved with a huge data center in Washington, D.C. And I think what's really different than when I began is that I could physically touch those servers. I could always go into the data center. And a fun story is I was in the data center. We were fixing some hardware and a man walks up, knocks on the security door and says, he's sweating, it's hot. And he's like, got this package. And this was 1994. He had this package and he said, look, I need to get in and deliver this package. I'm like, all right, we didn't order a package. We didn't order anything. So your visit is quite unexpected. He says, so the guy says, no, your Stratus mainframe ordered the package. The memory module is going to fail in 3 days, and I'm here to replace it. Not only in 1994 did the Stratus, order its own memory module, but it delivered it and ordered a technician to have it come installed. So now today we don't touch the data center. It's a cloud. It's something that's effortless to us. To watch that transformation and to see now what we're capable of, rather than a sweaty human being knocking on a door, I can just push a button and redeploy my infrastructure into any region of the world. That's the transformation that has been amazing to watch.
Awesome. Well, I was just born during 1994. I can imagine how exciting it was. Awesome. So you kind of shared your experience with it. And what were some of the major challenges that you encountered during the digital transformation journey?
Well, before I start with the challenges, let me start with what has been the most common foundation.
Sure.
Everything since 1994 has been Linux. Some form of a Unix or Linux operating system. So that's been the only consistent piece. Sure, you've had, Amazon and Microsoft and Google, they've all built data infrastructures. But Linux has been the foundation. That and Apache have been the mainstays of every application. So as we kind of evolved, it just now has given us the same frame of reference regardless of the cloud infrastructure that we're going to. So the same concepts of parallel queries and serverless databases and load balancers and DNS servers, they're all common across any transformation activity, whether you choose Google, Microsoft, or Amazon, or whatever your cloud provider is going to be. That common framework of terminology and knowledge, that's what professionals today need to have under their belt.
Awesome. Agree, definitely. And have you observed any positive changes in customer satisfaction or engagement since implementing digital initiatives? I mean, like what kind of experience you have with like seeing other people being included in this journey?
Well, I think data is data, right? Even back when I began my career, we're looking at very small pieces of information and trying to assemble that into knowledge. Transformation is about that activity. How do you take something that's ones and zeros, collecting data from all these different sources, and assemble that into some sort of a dashboard? But now we're at this real influx of computing where we now have human interaction models that are leveraging AI against that data so that we don't have to visualize it in very archaic ways. Sure, a graph is great and nice, but it requires a human to understand that and to transform that into a set of business decisions. The challenge right now is that we can take this data and put that against an intelligence model and then derive from that business decisions by just voice and by text based on this information that we've collected from 20 years of producing this product. Is it profitable? Should we continue to build it? And if we should not, how do we retire it? And based on this cumulative knowledge against that data set, then we're able to derive better business decisions. And I think transformation, that next generation of transformation, is when organizations and software engineering companies apply AI to those data models so that they can make more effective business decisions versus just looking at dashboards.
I see. So, coming back to what you said, a question raised in my mind actually. Do you think that we still need human resources in digital transformation, or is it tending to be more like AI and tech staff that will handle this part?
Well, I actually quoted this last night. It does take a prompt and a human. You have to ask questions. And you cannot make a computer or a language model curious, right? One of the foundations of my personality, which you probably know, is that I go by a mantra that why matters. All right, we had a crash in production. There's an error in the log. There's a new interface that was built for the customer. It's not that we should do it, but why did we do it? Who needed it? What is the name of that person, department, problem? And I am curious, and I often can be persistent about wanting to know why. Who wanted it? Why was it there? Why is it important? And by being curious, you often find that there's a lot of assumptions made in the development and the budgeting for digital transformation projects. Well, they said that this was a priority. And if you try to find who they are, you often find that they doesn't exist. It's an assumption based on some information that we had and or a past conversation that may have happened 2 years ago. So it's very important to look at all of this information and then derive what is actually important. So that is a human activity. That is something that, we have a problem in the business. And sure, an AI model assembling data can tell us what it sees, but the consciousness needed to understand a rational business decision, it's going to augment what we do, but it's not going to replace it. I use AI to write function, but it can't tell me why to build something.
Yes, definitely agree with you. I think that actually we still need human beings generally in any process because I mean, I think people sometimes just forget that AI, it's like it just recently activated all that stuff that it has right now, and it still has a long time to be perfect, if it ever will be perfect. So I think that actually people should be participating, like they should be in that process for us to make sure that this journey is actually going fine or well. Yeah, so we can get to the success that we are planning. Awesome, thank you for that. And another question, looking back, what are some key lessons or insights you gained from undergoing digital transformation?
I think the number one challenge in digital transformation is the skill gap. there are individuals that make certain assumptions about their knowledge and about their capability to apply technology to a problem. And what we are finding is that there's a lot of um, humility and arrogance when it comes to prescribing the right direction. We find people that they think they know the data until they really dig into the data. And you can really gain some insights, but the skill needed to derive that information, it is pretty substantial. You can't just have a fresh face jump in and make assumptions about your data. And that transformation and moving data from one place or putting that in the cloud and architecting that so it can be assembled requires a team of people. The next piece is really cybersecurity. We see this happening almost every week now. Our data, our information about ourselves, our companies is freely available. It's sold on private and black markets, and it's leaked because of our lack of cybersecurity discipline and the lack of hardening our infrastructures. It's really difficult to deploy and do a digital transformation project without focusing on cybersecurity first. The passwords, the authentication mechanisms. We can create these incredible transformation opportunities and move from cloud to cloud and make this a very elastic and scalable idea, architecture, or product. But we have to think about security first. There are 10 principles that need to be applied before we do any transformation project. And if they're not honored, then the entire project is compromised.
Agree, definitely. So can we say that for you, the one of the important things is to have skillful people around you in order to have successful journey during digital transformation? Is that
It
so?
is absolutely critical to have skilled resources, and more importantly, to have a partner that can bring in a new resource.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a joke and say that everybody in an organization, when they come in, it's much like a bottle of milk. You know, everybody has an expiration date. And you have to be prepared to go into your refrigerator and say, this was a great glass of milk, and now I need a better and fresher glass of milk to look at this new problem. And I think that's one of the reasons that, you know, we've looked at companies to provide this pool of resources, because they
Yeah.
do, they need to be exchanged for fresher minds and brought in to solve very new problems. And every person, if you have to get up every day and take your kids to the bus stop, sooner or later,
Mm-hmm.
that becomes a very challenging
Yeah.
process. And the day that someone shows up at my front door to give me a fresh perspective, I'll listen.
Definitely, that's so important. I think that's actually really good point related to the transformation and generally anything that you are like doing not alone and you have team, you definitely need to have experienced people so they can support your opinion and share theirs. There is like this challenge and discussions going based on which you are actually having that perfect product or like perfect path with the dream team, if, why not? And also the second part you mentioned about cybersecurity. So do you think that actually also technical stuff, I mean, the technical knowledge is very important in the team. So you kind of have like also technically skillful people. So it's not only about soft skills, but you also need to have those technical gurus around you. So you are more sure in the success.
Yes, I think that's important. It takes a culture of privacy. You'll have tech people come and go, but teaching privacy as a part of their human nature and a part of their
Mm-hmm.
business practice is really critical. Making sure that they think about the applications, the tools, and the data that they have in terms of data classification or in its criticality. Does it contain PII? Does it honor a legal agreement in Europe and the United States? We have to teach those skills and apply that to their knowledge as well. I think that, you know, we do monthly, if not 2 or 3 trainings per month on security, and sometimes our teams are bored of it, but it's essential. because every time we initiate a training, someone says
Mhm.
that they've discovered something new. They've discovered a perspective they didn't have before. So I think it's digital transformation also requires a culture of privacy.
Definitely. I definitely agree with it. And funny story, just like a small break here, will be that Chris was actually sending me some lessons to pass and some topics. And at the beginning, my reaction was the same. Okay, I did it last month. Why I need to do it again? Even though they were always different videos and lessons. But now when I help my company with ISO 20,000, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, basically there was so much that I understood thanks to those videos and to those lessons. So thank you for that. It was really, now I understand why you were forcing us to do all that stuff. Awesome. I think this will be the last question actually from my side. What advice would you offer to other companies to take into account when starting their digital transformation journey?
I think the easiest one is hiring people that are very curious. You have to dig into the data. You have to understand why things happen. It's not just a question of being given a task and accomplishing that task. You don't have to question the task, of course, but understand every element of the business problem and the person behind the task. And don't just make the icon blue. Understand why it has to be blue. Don't just implement a password policy because it's a it's a standard function. Implement a password policy and ask the question, is this for a bank? Is this for a government? Or is this for, an image site? And based on all of those questions of curiosity, you can build a more definitive and more robust and more protected digital transformation strategy, but it requires a culture of curiosity.
So it's all about having curious people around you and coming back to what you mentioned, asking why, not only from your side, but also from the side of other people that you are working with.
That's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was a really great discussion. Anything else you would like to add? Anything you would like to share with our listeners?
Well, I do believe that the other opportunity that we have during digital transformation is to recognize and employ cultures all over the world. Um, we have a luxury in the United States to have some great resources, but there's so much amazing talent around the world that our responsibility as transformation specialists is to assemble a team and know that that team doesn't have to be in one location. You can build this mind share with people throughout the world and create this culture of curiosity.
Agree. Very well said. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation and thank you for sharing your experience today.
Thanks so much.